Hey there, my name is Kuiper Elza, and today I'm sharing my final project, which is about social psychology in Severance. So, what is Severance? Severance is an Apple TV original show. Its first season came out in 2022, and it just had a second season come out this February. But don't worry about spoilers, everything we'll cover today comes from the first couple episodes of the first season. In the severance world, we've invented this procedure called the severance procedure. If you're someone who's undergone this procedure, your consciousness and memories will be surgically split between your work life and your daily life. So while you're at work, you have no idea who you are or what your life looks like, but when you're leaving work, you don't remember your day at all. Sounds pretty great in theory, yeah? So this basically creates two different versions of you. They call the work version of you your innie, and then the outside version of you your outie. And I chose this topic because I've been really enjoying watching this show, like while doing this class and applying concepts from this class to the characters in the show. And then here are some of the characters. Our four main characters in order is Irvin B, Mark S, Helly R, and Dylan G. They're all severed workers who work at a company called Lumen. So the first concept that I've related to severance is the idea of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. What is this? Well, intrinsic motivation happens when you want to complete a task because you enjoy it. Maybe you think it's fun, it's fulfilling, it's interesting, but on the other hand, extrinsic motivation is the desire to complete a task only to meet external rewards or pressures. You don't really want to do this task, but maybe something bad will happen if you don't, or you'll be rewarded with something external, like a paycheck, if you do it. So how does this apply to severance? Well, our characters in Severance all work together, and it's their job to find data files. Different characters are motivated to do this for different reasons, though. Some intrinsic and some extrinsic, and we can get a better look at that on the next slide. So on the left, we have Irving B. He is super intrinsically motivated because he thinks he's doing something good by completing his work, that he's upholding the greatness of Lumen. Here we have a picture of him admiring statues of all the past Lumen CEOs. But on the other hand, Dylan G, he is only extrinsically motivated to complete his work. He likes to earn rewards. The more he completes his data refinement, the more rewards he gets. Here we can see some of them, like the silly character to portrait and some finger traps. All right, next up, we have cognitive dissonance. So, cognitive dissonance is the feeling of discomfort that happens when you behave in ways that conflict with your values, your morals, maybe they threaten your self esteem or the person you imagine yourself to be. People can reduce this feeling by changing their behavior or by trying to justify it. So, in Severance, if you've undergone the severance procedure, one half of you basically gets to live normally, but the other half spends literally all of their time at work. They don't know anything except for their office, and they never get to leave because they don't remember it, which kind of sounds like torture, and no one wants to admit that they're torturing themselves because that would cause cognitive dissonance. So some characters will try and reduce their dissonance by justifying their behavior. Like Mark S. He lost his wife before the start of the show, so he justifies his severance by saying, "It's like a part of me can be happy, even if it's just in there." Outside of work, he's really depressed. We can see that he drinks a lot, so he tries to think he's doing himself a favor by splitting his memories. And last but not least, we have the independent versus interdependent view of the self. So, an independent view of the self means that you define yourself in terms of your own thoughts, feelings, actions, but an interdependent view of the self is the opposite of this, which is where you define yourself in terms of your relationships or commitments to other people. How do we see this in Severance? Well, innies only exist in the context of their relationship to their jobs and their coworkers. They're not really able to have their own thoughts or feelings, so their self-views are entirely interdependent. But the outies are allowed to exist freely as individuals outside of the scope of their workplace, so they can develop independent self-views. It's really interesting because innies and outies are really just two versions of the same person, but the environment they exist in shapes so much of their self-concept. And here we can see some more examples of this with Mark S. Outside of work, he has hobbies, he has likes and dislikes, he makes decisions based on his own wants and needs, but inside of work, he pretty much only exists in the scope of his role amongst his coworkers. And finally, we have my self-reflection. I think one of the biggest things I learned from this class is that you can apply social psychology to literally everything, even if it's not something that directly involves communication or being social. Social psychology shapes our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas about the world. And if you understand this, then you can understand the world around you. Through a lens of social psychology, I find myself being able to answer questions like, why do people act the way they do, and what motivates this behavior? I've also been able to apply what I've learned to media I care about, like Severance. I can analyze and understand characters' behavior. For example, when I first started the show, I thought Mark was weird or maybe even a little bit evil for trying to justify his behavior, but now I can understand that he's just trying to reduce his cognitive dissonance. And it's really interesting to me that even if the directors of Severance weren't having that same thought, you can still see these aspects of social psychology because it really just studies innate human behavior. All right, that's all for now. Thank you so much.